Hi class, it's Dr. T. This is an introduction to the graduate project. As you know, for the past 3 weeks you've been in the theory course, and I have to say you've been doing a really good job. During this time you have been preparing in some ways to address your graduate project. Remember, this is your first step. This is not a finished product. This is a process that will go on throughout the program. For the next few minutes, we're going to be going over the Graduate Project Guidebook. It's in week 4. You can get it and download it and print it. This is it. Or you certainly can read it online. I'm going to be referring to it as we talk. So we're going to start with the graduate project. Now, you know that you've been considering the graduate project for the last 3 weeks. We started out with each one of you identifying a clinical issue of concern, and after you identified your clinical issue of concern, you went on to develop what is identified as a PECOT question. You all completed a tutorial on evidence-based practice and how one develops a PECOT question, and we had the working forum where you each honed and developed your PECOT to perfection, we hope. So now you have a developed PECOT. You've been assigned an advisor. There are 3 advisors, myself, Dr. Kasich, and Dr. Griswold. So you check in the course and it shows you which advisor you have, and you will be meeting and dialoguing with that advisor during this next week called the Graduate Project Week. Each of the advisors will discuss your projects with you and get the ball rolling in preparing you to continue to address the issues of your clinical issues, your PECOT question, as you're going to progress through the program. In the program, you will be considering your graduate project in the next 2 courses most especially. The next course after this one is research, and the one following that is evidence-based practice. The perfect fit for you to further develop the evidence and support for the clinical concern you have and the solution or intervention that's evidence-based that you are going to propose to put into practice in your clinical setting. As you know, all of you have chosen an issue of concern that's within the context of your practice area. Now, your practice areas are all different. Some of you are in prison system, some of you are in acute care settings, some of you are in long-term care. And even those of you who are in acute care settings are in different acute care settings which have different issues of concern in their settings. I will be referring to pages in your guidebook. I am going to do a brief overview, not word for word. I would encourage you to actually read the guidebook and go over it because it is a pretty good overview of the evidence-based proposal. You will be taking a 5-week course towards the end of the program, just before you go into your internship if you're in the leadership track, or before you go into your practice teaching if you're in the educator track. Right before that, you are going to take a course where you work with your advisor and you develop the paper called your evidence-based proposal. So you don't want to enter that course without having done some work and preparation for developing this paper. You will be doing that over the course of this course and that concept paper that you're writing for the end of this course. Then when you go to Dr. Kratzer's course in research, you'll be doing more there. You'll be looking at gathering evidence of research studies that support your evidence-based change. And then when you go into Dr. Monkern's course, which is evidence-based practice, you will be considering evidence-based at a deeper level than we had time to. But I got to tell you, I'm very proud of you. I think you all have a very good sense now of evidence-based practice. I know you all completed the tutorials. It wouldn't hurt to revisit those tutorials and do them again just to be sure you're really in sync with what evidence-based nursing practice is. As you know, you have chosen a clinical issue of concern that's patient-centered, and you are focusing on interventions where the nurse is a key player. We'd like your interventions to be nurse-led interventions. Certainly the expectation in the 21st century is that the nurse is a team player with an interdisciplinary team. And so many of your interventions would involve more than simply the nurse. However, you are the driver of this change and this proposal. So take a look at your guidebook, and it starts out with just simply going over the syllabus for the course that is where you do the 5 weeks to write the chapters. Now, when you look at that, it will have course outcomes. It says courses MNE 655 and MNA 650. Those are just the course outcomes with some specific references to whether or not you're in the educator track or the leadership track. But I would like to emphasize for you that these course outcomes are the program outcomes for the graduate project, not the graduate program, excuse me. So when you look at them, these outcomes are the outcomes that you are expected to achieve as a graduate of this program. So these are your high-level outcomes that we would expect a graduate of the graduate program in nursing or leadership to have achieved. The graduate project proposal, content, approach, context, everything about it should be a reflection that you have achieved all these outcomes. So when you look at these outcomes, and they start on page 1, you see here they are right here being listed, okay? Look at them and read them over and be proud of everything that you're going to accomplish. You're already accomplishing a lot of these, and you have the beginning of every one of them. So when you complete this program, I absolutely promise you that you will have achieved all of these outcomes. Every one of our graduates do. So take a look at that, go over the outcomes, and just sort of see that as the light at the end of the tunnel. That's where you're going to be at the end of the program. That's the kind of scholarly, informed, competent, confident, advanced role nurse that you're going to be. Now, if you look on page 6, it starts, it's labeled at the top, the evidence-based capstone project. All right? Take a look at that and look at what the purpose of the project is. The purpose of the project is to investigate a clinical question of interest to the students and pertinent to nursing education or nursing leadership. So that makes sense. That's what you're doing, right? The project's outcome, we hope, will contribute to the application of evidence-based knowledge to nursing practice, nursing clinical practice. A final scholarly product, and guess what that is? That's your paper. So your final capstone proposal will be generated as a consequence of this work that you're going to do. We feel it's a scholarly process. We're helping you to develop your scholarship. You're going to be very familiar with the literature. You're going to complete an extensive literature review indicating the background of the clinical issue of concern and the justification for the interventions that you're saying are good interventions to put into place. So you're going to write this proposal. There's a very structured process for this. We will hold your hand the whole way. We're going to tell you exactly how to put it in order There is no flexibility in that. We're going to keep you right on track with how you're going to put it into place. We use a particular model of knowledge transformation, which is called the STAR model of knowledge transformation. If you look on page 6, excuse me, it will show you what the STAR model is. But really, all this is talking about is how you develop knowledge, how you grow your knowledge, how you pull together your understanding so that when you graduate from this program as an advanced role nurse, you will be a model, a leader, a mentor, an educator in driving nursing to be evidence-based and cutting edge in all that we do. And I honestly believe you will be that. So look at that, the stages of model of knowledge transformation, and understand that that's what you're going through. You've just begun the discovery stage when you're checking things out and you're saying, okay, what's my clinical issue of concern? Is that in the literature? Do we have enough information in the literature to support that there's something good we can do to modify this situation and pull it together in a way that we will improve patient outcomes? It's always about the patient, everybody. Always about the patient. So when you're looking at the objective of your evidence-based proposal, when you're looking at the outcomes, it's about the patient. It is always about the patient. It's patient-centered, meaning that you have to identify in terms of patient behaviors, patient feelings, patient physiological outcomes, and it is nursing sensitive. All that means is that the patient outcomes result from nursing actions taken, or in some cases in the healthcare team actions taken. As you know, we're really looking more at interdisciplinary and collaborative kind of interventions. So we realize that. But we want you to be putting in a program that's really nursing driven. So you're going to pull it all together like that. You're going to work in research, getting more evidence to support your evidence-based proposed change. A number of you, in many cases, I would say the majority of you, have chosen a clinical guideline. Well, the good news about a clinical guideline, everybody, is that the work has been done. However, you are going to look at that clinical guideline. You're going to look at the levels of evidence that's been developed for that, but you are going to do your own review of the literature in support of that clinical guideline. You can certainly use references from the clinical guideline, but you're going to pull together a review of the lit. You're going to begin the development of that review of the lit in a tiny step in theory where you write your concept paper, where you're going to have topical articles and maybe some research of those 10 articles that are going to support your paper. Now, before you start worrying about your paper, let's just stay focused this week on the evidence-based proposal and working with your advisors. And I'm going to do another tutorial, and I'm going to go over your paper step by step by step, and I'm going to help you with how you would set your paper up. So not to worry about it. I promise I will help you with it, and I promise you will do really well with that paper. I'm totally confident you're going to do well, because look how far you've come. Look all you've accomplished already, developing the clinical issue, the PECOT question. You really have come a long way, everybody. So I want you to look at the guideline in your graduate project little guideline papers. Understand that there's steps you're going to be taking. There's an outline in it. Let's see what page that starts on. It starts on page 9, where right at the top where it says outline of the evidence-based change. Okay, look at that. That's really kind of the outline of your paper. That's what your paper is going to look like. But don't worry too much about that now. We're going to help you through that. There will be a grading rubric that will show you the what's in it, how you develop your paper. So that's pretty much it. I think you all have got a really good start. You're going to work with your advisor this week, and that means you're just going to get to know each other. You're going to know how to contact your advisor. You're going to tell your advisor about your PICO. Obviously, those students who are my advisees already know that I know what your PICO is. I have submitted your PICOs to all the advisors. However, you can still upload your PICO to your advisor and talk about it with your advisors so other people can see. You do have a team project this week, and it's not a hard one. It's just where you're submitting your PICOs and responding to one another about your PICOs. And that's to keep you kind of like in the swing of that, and also for you to acknowledge and support each other in terms of the fact that you're developing outstanding PICOs. So that's the kind of introduction to your evidence-based proposal. I am completely confident that you're going to proceed easily because you've done such hard work. You've developed excellent PICOs, and you're definitely on the right track. I will be working with my advisees, and Dr. Kasich and Dr. Griswold. We will be working with their advisees, and I just know you're going to do well. Dr. Monkern will be working with you on those synthesizing exercises, so you'll get to know her a little bit too, because she is your teacher in the third module, in the evidence-based module. So she's looking forward, I'm sure, to understanding and receiving all your PICOs. So let me know if you have any questions. You're doing a great job. I really am proud of you. Somebody commented in the class today how wonderful everyone's doing, and that it's nice to have such a tight group of students, and I absolutely agree with you. I think you're a strong cohort. I again urge you to be supportive and uplifting to one another. Yes, it's difficult, but it's achievable. You cannot possibly see, you must understand at this point, after 3 weeks, that you have learned so much. You are becoming scholars. You are understanding what it means to be a graduate student. You are dialoguing at a graduate level. You're doing a really good job. And really, it's only been 3 weeks. That's something, class. That's really something. I promised you you would feel like this, and you will and do. So let me know how you're doing. Feel free to Skype me. Please Skype me. I'd love to see each one of you face to face. I'm on the computer a lot, so just sign in to Skype and invite me to be one of your contacts. My Skype name is posted in the course. I'd be happy to see you, and we can look at each other face to face. So take care, and I will see you online this week as you work on your graduate project.